chicken nachos. Let's get it. We're gonna start off with the Goya Saison, I believe, however you want to say it. We got the ground paprika, you know, bringing everything in. We got the ground cumin. What we doing today is we making our own taco powder, chili powder right there. You got your onion powder. You can't go wrong with that. You always got to make sure you got onion powder. Garlic powder is a must. Kosher salt, I like it coarse a little bit more, you feel me? Work better for me. Crushed red pepper. And then, of course, pure ground black pepper. And lastly, you can't forget the thyme leaves. I love these on so many meals. They come in handy. They add so much flavor. Set that down. Y'all get a good look at your list because we about to get into it. So if you do a simple Google search, of course, for a taco seasoning recipe, you'll see across the board a lot of places calling for like a teaspoon of this or a half a teaspoon of that. I personally took my own approach with it and just went in and with a tablespoon of everything evenly across the board, you know. Worked out perfect for me, honestly. This is probably one of the best taco recipes that I've made thus far. And honestly, I've been cooking for quite some time. But yeah, you know, you want to get the garlic powder, black pepper, salt, thyme leaves, ground cumin, you know, some ground black pepper. If I already said that, yeah, chili powder, you know, you got the crushed pepper. You want to make sure you get it all in there and mix it up real good. So now once you got everything on the plate, you know, I say this part is important. Mix it up real good. I personally like to mix it with a fork just because it's nice and smooth, to be honest. And let's be real, I do not like utensils and dishes and all of that. So in my preference, we running with paper plates, forks, plastic knives, and all that. So yeah, but make sure you mix it up real good because if you don't, feel like it could come out a little off, you know? You want them seasonings to mix in real good with each other. All right, now while you got your seasoning sitting on the side, you can start pulling out your onions, you know. I like to do my stuff in a specific order just because I feel like everything come out in a timely manner for the most part. Sometimes my timing is way off, y'all, completely. But yeah, nah, so don't talk about how I cut my onions either. I've been trying to find 1,001 ways to find more efficient ways to cut stuff, and I think this way worked pretty well. It's a little sloppy, but if you hold it together, it's right. Do you see the work with the cleaver or butcher knife, whatever you want to call it? But look at the work. That dice game is phenomenal. Nah, I'm not about to cut my finger either. I've been doing this for years. Right here, I'll just be in the show off because this is kind of my favorite knife. But yeah, so basically next you want to start slicing your chicken up, you know. I like to use thin sliced chicken breast on most of the things that I cook when it comes to chicken, honestly. Unless I'm going for like a stuffed chicken breast or something like that because they're way easier to deal with. They cook a little quicker. I could get the slices, like the way I slice it out to the exact size that I want the meat to be and so forth. But yeah, you know, basically I like to trim off all of the extra fat too for the most part, any tendons that still may be in the meat. You know, and then that sometimes I like to try to get off that extra layer of skin it may still have on it or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, now basically, so you just get your dicing up going, you know, cut that chicken up, and then we on to the next part. So boom, the chicken is chopped. I repeat, the chicken is chopped. So now we get in and just basically tossing the seasoning all over the chicken in the bowl. I prefer to put it in a bowl. You could just throw it in a pot and season it, but of course, if you put it in a bowl, it'll give you a good chance to mix it up and make sure you evenly spread them seasonings across every piece of meat. You want it to absorb as much as it can. You know, that flavor needs to be there. And listen, I know people like you gotta use gloves sometimes. Listen, I'm at home cooking. I don't mind it. You feel me? And I'm only making it for my family. If it was like a commercial cooker, I was feeding other people, yes, I would use some gloves. But otherwise, you at home with your family, don't be scared to get your hands in there and get dirty. It's your food. Look at that. You can already smell it. Can you smell it? Put your face up to the screen. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. This is about to come out right, y'all. I'm telling you. This is a good, quick, easy recipe, too. All right, now we get to the frying side of it. I like my little oil pour, or whatever you want to call it. My bottle, it's real bougie. It make me feel like I'm a 5-star chef. I might be on my way to a Michelin star. You never know. But yeah, basically, so now you got the pot. Get that oil. Let it get a little hot. I threw the piece of chicken in there just to see if I could get a little sizzle from it. I don't know if you could tell too much, but I got a little bit of heat going. But I let it sit there for a second. You know, you want to make sure you get it to a good temperature because we want the chicken to cook quick. So now we there. You drop the rest of the chicken in. You know, get it going. Dump it. Don't be shy. We not here to be cute about it. Just get it in there. I like to spread it out though because you want to make sure all the pieces is definitely getting a fair share of the pot. I try not to stack the pieces on top of each other or leave them in like balls of meat just because I feel like the meat could cook unevenly. You know, some pieces might come out tougher or whatever the case may be. So you want to try to get it all evenly cooked right. So make sure you spread it out however you need to. I would say I cooked the meat in this portion of it, I would say for about, I don't know, maybe like 6-7 minutes. I didn't cook it for too long. You know, it was on a good heat. But I also didn't really care about fully cooking it through just because I wanted to still get to this point where you take out your cutting board, put the meat on the cutting board. Don't worry again if it's not cooked all the way through because it's still going to go back into the pot with the onions, you feel me? So it could get that good cook down. And of course, you know, you're going to add a few more things once we get to that point. But as of right now, we just putting it on the cutting board, you know, to get it out. And what we're going to do is we're going to chop it up real nice. And look, we came back in with the chops again. Do you see the work? That wrist work, wrist work, wrist work, wrist work. All right, so the chicken is chopped again. Let's go. So we back to the pot. You know, it's just sitting there simmering. Got all of the juices still sitting in there. You want to put the onions in first. I personally want to put the onions in first just because I want them onions to really start getting into them juices and stuff. Then I put the chicken on top. And of course, once you put the chicken on top, you're going to end up mixing it in. But it gives them onions a second to warm up and start to, you know, start to activate. You want them flavors and them aromas in the air. Can you smell it? And of course, like I stated before, once it start cooking, you want to come back in and stir it up. Sometimes, you know, you don't got to over stir it just because it's going to need a little bit of time to cook. But I put the burner on low for this part just because I wanted the onions to have a good chance to really, you know, get softer and start to really, really loosen up, you know. But now we get to this point where you look, and if you start to see, you see the onions starting to get a little translucent. Everything's starting to have the same color, which means that the meal is coming together correctly. Do you understand me? But yeah, like I said before, again, you want to make sure you stir him up because that's a real important part of it, you know. But everything's starting to come out right. So if you're at this point and it's looking this way, you're doing good. Now that plate of seasoning we made earlier, you should have a good amount of seasoning on that plate still. I only put about a half of it. At this point, I'm putting a little bit more just because I wanted to have a little bit more of that darker look to it. You know, I wanted to be a little bit more flavorful. And also, I could smell it, but I couldn't smell it exactly how I wanted it yet. So, like I always say, whenever I post anywhere, when it comes to seasoning anything, seasoning till your ancestors slap you in the back of the head, period. Now, we get to the point where we add some water. Of course, you know, any good tacos, you're going to have that to break that seasoning up right. You want to add a little bit of water. That's also going to make it real extra juicy. You know, it's going to make it right. Once we start to get to these looks, though, you see everything is coming together real good. You pretty much done with your meal, honestly. You just made some good tacos. You want them to just sit in there for a little bit longer till you get the right look that you want specifically. It don't need to look exactly like mine. As long as you got the same flavor base and the type of process to it, it should come out right. Cook it to where you want it, though. Next, I came in with the avocados. I actually love avocados. Honestly, I hate them. I think they're disgusting. First time I tasted one, it tasted like a banana. I don't know why. I thought it was cool, but every time after that, it was off. But even though I don't eat them, look at the skills. Give it up. Come on, y'all. I need to go into a chef cutting competition at this point. Now, I don't know about y'all, but one thing I can say is I personally hate trying to peel avocados because I don't care how good the cut is, how precise, it's always still so hard to peel. My fingers always end up dirty. So if you got some tips or tricks, leave them in the comments. Send me some links to some tutorials or whatever. It don't matter because I'm waiting for them. All right, you added your final touches, and that's the product. Everything's still fresh. Class will be in next week.